And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in, everybody, as I get my graphic down. I am Preston Guy, your host for the evening. Joined with me, as always, every Monday night at 8 o'clock is our co-host, Zack, Nagy, staff writer at LSU Country on SportsIllustrated.com. Zack, what's going on, man? Has this been an easier week to write content or what?
Yeah, no, this is way smoother, especially with the LSU fan base, but doing good on this end. A little under the weather, but we're making the most of it.
Oh, man, dude, I feel like everybody's a little sick. I had some bad allergies or sniffles or whatever. But, you know, LSU got the win, and it's 65 degrees in the morning right now. So really good vibes, immaculate vibes moving forward. Tonight, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about a special recruit LSU has on campus. We'll just touch very briefly on him. Brian Kelly had an interesting quote in his press conference today about how they saw some light at the end of the tunnel. I think one of the reporters kind of fed him that line, if I recall right. But we're going to talk about whether or not that could be true or not. There's some evidence to suggest it might. I did a little bit of film breakdown again, and I probably didn't get every play recorded down, but I try to always catch the plays of 10 plus yards, the big bad ones, or the touchdown plays, right? So we're going to go through that a little bit. We have to talk about Jayden Daniels. And I think this is the week where he should have been getting some Heisman love going into the week. And this is the week where all that changed, and he is getting Heisman love finally. I'm going to say if you comment on this show, yet people still want to see, I'm done with you. Okay. That's the most old take. It's antiquated. I haven't heard anybody calling for Nussmeier in 3 weeks since his horrible start against Arkansas, which I didn't even hear people start. There may be some grumbling, but it was only 3 drives he struggled. Guys, I haven't heard a mum from the Must Bus, so just keep that one in your pocket. Nobody's really hating on Jayden Daniels right now. And we're going to talk about, what Auburn does offensively and how you stop it. Hugh Freeze on an extra week of game planning. We know what his planning and his offense can do. So, we're going to talk about how LSU, we're not going to say stop because they ain't stopping anything, guys, but we're going to talk about maybe how you can contain that a little bit. And then we'll get to some BK notes, comments, lots to talk about tonight. So remember, if you want to get your comment up there, hit us with a super chat, and that you'll make sure to get yourself in there. But before we keep going on, let's play a few bills around here before we dive into the action. That way we can go uninhibited. Guys, of course, our title sponsor this year is Celebrity Theaters with locations in Baton Rouge, Broussard, and Broussard and Ruston. I apologize there. Guys, Celebrity Theaters is the only locally owned theater in Louisiana. Because of that, you're guaranteed every single time to get a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology, a bar featuring wine and frozen drinks and beer, oversized leather reclining seats. So it's truly a comfortable experience. And of course, they got the Dolby Atmos 3D sound system complete with the largest screen in Baton Rouge. So if you're looking to go watch that Eras tour, you don't want to go drop the $2,000 to go take your lovely lady to go see Taylor Swift in person, you can take her to the Eras tour. And of course, being Halloween, they have a lot of horror movies out there. If you really like that jump scare stuff, this is your month to go check it out. And the 3D Atmos sound. I don't know. I haven't done too many horror movies myself. I used to be into them. I don't like going to see movies without my wife. I don't know. And she is not into that anymore. So I don't do too much of it. But I imagine if that is what you're into, that's the best place to do it. All right. I'm going to try to get this ad. Mike has me set up with these 2-step ads. So we're going to put Drip IV here. We're going to hear a little bit from them and we'll come right back.
Hi, everybody. We're so excited to share the news that both our Lafayette and our Baton Rouge location are offering semaglutide for weight loss.
If you or someone you know are interested in our medically assisted weight loss program with semaglutide,
Call Kylie in Lafayette or myself in Baton Rouge. We'd love to speak with you.
And guys, you've probably heard a bunch of the hype around the semaglutide or Ozempic, whatever you may know it as. Guys, if you've been struggling to lose weight, maybe you've heard of it from a friend, family member. This is your sign to check it out. Drip IV offers medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide at both their Baton Rouge and Lafayette locations. Call them to book your consultation. They would love to speak with you. They will guide you for the perfect IV drip that fits your needs. These IVs are also great for anyone feeling under the weather, like Zack Nagy, or in need of an energy boost. They are loaded with vitamin C, great vitamins, amino acids, electrolytes designed to get you feeling your best in a hurry. Whether it's a hangover, a cold, you watch too much of LSU's defense, preparing for vacation, or whatever it might be, they've got what you need. Located next to Sushiyama and Iverston's in Perkins Crossing on the corner of Perkins and Essence, it's a super convenient spot, and walk-ins are always welcome. Please say TigerBait.com on your first IV drip. You'll get $10 off, and let our sponsor know that their dollars are being put to good use. For appointments, you can book online or call the locations closest to you. Call them at 225-256-3634. Open 8 to 4 Mondays through.
Hey everybody,
I was trying to take the graphic off and I hit that. See, Mike's got me set up with all these like complicated two-step, turn this on, turn that off. Man, a lot of misfires
over there and go get whatever they can provide me.
Yeah, but now that we've got that out of the way, we can dive straight into some good action. Let's get to a few comments here. The Nuss Bus is drunk. They were hitting up that bar at Celebrity a little too hard. This is what happens when you don't have BFFs. Oh, that's good. That's a little bit of an inside joke. If you know Mike, he says the word BFF more than any 16-year-old girl you will ever meet. JD is playing great. We need it for the next 6, possibly 7 if they win out. Winning out. All right, let's talk about that real quick because that is actually a note that I have. Is it unreal? Is it realistic to say this team could win out? Because you got 5 of 6 at home, right? And look at the quarterback matchups they have. It seems like the worst is behind them. They had KJ Jefferson, who can roll out and throw downfield. We know what Brady Cook can do. He's a beast and he's a mobile guy, right? And then you had Jordan Travis from Florida State. And of course, Jackson Dart, who hung 700 yards. Do you kind of get where I'm going? That the quarterbacks, they might have some mobile quarterbacks moving forward, but not guys who can move and get the ball downfield. It's not as much of a nightmare matchup. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're sitting here and you're looking at it, you're saying like the worst is behind you type deal. Like I completely agree. Moving forward, I mean, obviously that Alabama matchup on the road is your only one left where you're going to kind of get on the bus, get on the plane, and fly out. Other than that, you're going to be in front of Tiger Stadium fans and stuff. So, I mean, I just feel like the possibility to win out certainly isn't far-fetched. The quarterback battles are going to be something to monitor, of course. But, I mean, you're looking at Jayden Daniels, who's a Heisman candidate in both of our eyes. And he's certainly, more talented than all the other quarterbacks he's going to face for the foreseeable future. So, look, I don't think winning out is far-fetched. Is it likely? Maybe, but I'm just going to leave it at it's not far-fetched at this point in time. What do you think?
No, I don't think it's very far-fetched, and I'm trying not to be too much of a sunshine pumper here because I don't want to be
a homer and just sit here and just like go.
That's something I've avoided a lot. In fact, last year, a lot of people were thinking I was just a straight-up LSU hater, and I'm like, man, not really. I try not to be a homer. I try to give you real hope when I say things like this. I do think there's a chance LSU wins out, and I don't expect them to lose. 8-4 would be the worst case scenario that I see. 9-3 might be more realistic, but 10-2 is on the table. Definitely on the table. Especially you look at Jalen Milroe in Alabama. Jalen Milroe is not a prolific passer. Yes, he can run, and he's an outstanding runner, and that is something LSU has been weak against. But is he great at running, buying time, and finding a man downfield? Not so great. Peyton Thorne at Auburn doesn't really scare me. You already know my opinion of Florida. I'm not scared of what Florida can do at all, especially that Graham Mertz. He's not the kind of quarterback built to take advantage of what this defense does. Now, what Auburn does do that could be scary is they run that outside zone RPO. We'll talk more about that a little bit down the road once we get there, because outside contain's been a big problem for this defense. But I do think as far as the matchup nightmares, the worst is behind you. Winning out is definitely on the table because your offense has been tremendous, man. I mean, they have been lights out good. The offensive line is playing better. Jayden Daniels. I mean, I'm going to look at a few statistics of Jayden Daniels in our second segment tonight. But I mean, essentially, he has been right up there with one of the best quarterbacks in SEC history, statistically. So I'd love to dive into that. Before we keep on going, guys, if you're liking the show tonight, make sure to show it by hitting that like, share the show to your social media feeds, get it rocking and rolling so the algorithm gods deem our show is worth putting out there to the masses. I'm going to go over real quick. Where did I put this stupid thing at? I'm going to go over real quick some defensive notes. Let me get to Zack first here, though. Zack, do you think LSU made some positive steps in the right direction in defense? And if so, what were those positive steps?
Yeah, I mean, it's like hard not to look at those last 2 quarters of play where they outscored them and just played. And I don't want to sit back and I'm not going to overhype it and say fantastic defense because obviously nothing's been fantastic on that side of the ball. But just to see life, see a pulse on that side of the football, in the final 2 quarters was really promising to me. It seemed like Matt House kind of simplified the scheme. You saw your playmakers make plays. Obviously, Major Burns kind of putting the nail in the coffin on that final play was fantastic. But, even Harold Perkins coming up with a bunch of plays when, it's not like he has been ineffective this year. But to see him do, what a superstar is supposed to do was what was fantastic for me. It was his best game of the season so far. Stepped up when you needed him to step up. And that's something that I really like to see. Braden Swinson, coming off the edge was really promising as well. So simplifying the scheme, having your playmakers make plays and, seeing some life in the final 2 quarters was something that I took away. And if you can carry that into your game against Auburn and, slowly get in a stride as SEC play ramps up even more over the next couple of weeks in the back half of the schedule. I mean, look, dude, last couple of weeks, you and I have sat here and just said, like, obviously the 117th worst defense in college football. They can just get to around that 75, 80-ish range. I mean, this team's scary. And then we'll have that realistic conversation about can you win out because, it'll be severely possible if they can get somewhat of defensive production.
And the goal here is not to be the best defense in the country, right? You're looking out there, they don't have the guys out there to be that unit.
Just stay afloat.
Just be ordinary. And at the back half of the Missouri game, the last 10 possessions, they looked ordinary. 17 points. So Brian Kelly talked about in his press conference. Do you remember the light at the end of the tunnel question? You were there today, right?
Yeah, we talked about the production meeting as well.
Who asked about the light at the end of the tunnel? Am I remembering that? Was that a reporter who put the words in his mouth? But
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I could specifically pinpoint who asked that.
Yeah, regardless, Brian Kelly did say, yes, it looks like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the defense. And my thought was, Coach, you gave up 500 yards against Missouri. Okay. And Missouri's a good offense. Don't get me wrong, but you gave up 500 yards to a team that's not, a top 5 football team. And I was like, there's still glaring issues all over the field, right? Well, then you start to look at the statistics. 17 of after the third drive, right? The LSU gave up 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. The defense looked like paper mache. It looked like this was just going to be another just depressing day to watch, right? Excluding drives where the clock cut the drive short, LSU had given up scores on 17 of its last 20 drives. I mean, that's rough. I mean, you could almost field a high school defense and probably get that same result because, eventually an offense is going to fumble or throw a dumb interception, right? I mean, we're talking about 85% of the time they're scoring on you. So that's about as rough as it gets. But then something happened after that third drive against Missouri. Some adjustments were made. Harold Perkins made that interception. and they gave up 17 points on 10 drives, which might be the best stretch, considering the quality of opponent, might be the best stretch this defense has had all year. Any 10 drive stretch. Now I'm rambling, of course, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Right. Right. I mean, again, quality of opponent. There were some things on film I saw that I liked, but charting the plays of 10 or more, soft coverage continues to be an issue. That happened about 5 or 6 times. DBs just not covering their guy, saw that about 3 or 4 times. Outside run contain is quickly becoming one of your biggest problems because coaches have identified that as an issue and they are attacking it. And you best believe Auburn's going to get to that with their fancy RPOs. They're going to try to get outside, and if that doesn't work, they are going to try to target deep. They don't have the most dynamic receiving core in the country by any stretch, but they're still going to try that. And that's the thing about an RPO is if the outside run isn't there, then you take your shot deep.
I've been shocked with how much they use Peyton Thorne kind of in the run game as well.
Yeah,
I
me
did not
too.
expect to see that from them. And I know you were going to hit on that too soon. I just couldn't believe it when I'm, looking at the numbers and stuff because we both looked at Auburn, to a degree, but even just if you're looking at just like the box score or anything simple like that, it's like I couldn't even believe how much he runs the football for them.
And the other thing about it is Robbie Ashford, the running quarterback that they have.
Yeah.
It seems like they're kind of steering away from him. I'd have to talk to some Auburn people to really get that. I'll be on an Auburn podcast tomorrow night, and I'm going to ask them about it. Like, are they kind of going toward Peyton Thorne as the guy? We'll see. Tackling continues to be an issue. There was about 7 or 8 tackles they missed, and most of the big plays, when they're getting 20 or more yards, someone missed a tackle, right? That has to be improved, but it is greatly improved from last week where there was like 15 missed tackles. DBs not being able to find the ball, like, they're making they're there on the receiver, they just can't identify the ball. I don't know what it is with ball in air instincts. It's just not very often, usually you'll see maybe 1 or 2 times a game where a DB is there, can make the play and just can't find the ball.
Dude, we've been talking about that since week 2.
I know.
Specifically, you brought it up too, that Denver Harris touchdown in the back left corner of the end zone against Grambling. Like, that's something that you and I have been hitting on for weeks now.
It's not just Denver Harris anymore, though.
Yeah,
it's Zy Alexander. It's a lot of them, man. And I don't know what that is, but you better figure that out because I mean, if you have tight coverage and you're in the end zone, at a certain point, quarterbacks are going to start learning that just because he's covered doesn't mean he's covered. That's not a good spot. That's not a good spot to be on defense, man. Safety run support was a new issue I saw this week where, yes, the defensive end gives up outside contain, but the defensive end is running upfield way too much. Andre Sam in particular is really bad about being aggressive, running up into the box, and then they cut it outside. Well, he's too far in the box. He's not he's not scooted out enough to be able to make the play anymore. And quite frankly, I don't want to bully Andre Sam, but
kind of like sitting on that, not to like interrupt what you're saying, but what do you think about Ryan Yates' play? Kind of stepping up as a true freshman and making some production.
Let me work into that. Okay.
I want to hear what you have to say about him too.
Andre Sam just doesn't have the foot speed and talent and size of an SEC safety. And I love his energy, and a lot of his mistakes are because his energy is compensating for that lack of just SEC caliber athleticism and size. But that's also causing him to be out of position. It's causing him not to wrap up and make tackles. It's causing him not to catch people, when they're running backside upfield. And what I saw out of Yates is a guy who is more capable, definitely bigger, definitely a more stout player back there. But a guy, let's see, I caught him on at least 2 mistakes today. But
talking about
Yates, right?
Yeah. My thought, freshman hurdles.
My thought on this defense is you got to slowly start working these freshmen in and getting them their reps because they're going to improve. they're going to have more talent. And that includes Kylan Jackson too, by the way, the safety out of Zachary. Brian Kelly made some jokes about, taking his gold chain off pregame, tying his shoes, right? Which is him just trying to be funny. But I mean, guys develop faster when they're out there on the field. And right now your defense is in a spot where it's not really playing very well. Maybe that 17 points in 10 drives isn't an anomaly, right? Maybe they actually have turned the corner. I believe they will revert to the mean, and this is still a 35 to 40 point game defense on any team. But my thought is, if you're going to be that bad and just begging your offense to just keep up with the gun show, you might as well work some young players out there and see if they can develop as the season goes on.
You have nothing to lose in the secondary. You might as well throw your young guys in there and see what they can do.
Absolutely. So I'd like to see that. I like that West Weeks continues to play out there. He made some mistakes. West Week, I caught him 4 times making little mistakes, whether it be missed tackle or just not being able to get off his block. It was a variety of mistakes, but he's got a high motor, and I like the talent he shows. But I think you got to roll with some of these very talented freshmen and just see what the deal is. Loafing. All right, Zach Nagy. Did you notice as much loafing this week?
I mean, we've just seen so much in the past. I wouldn't say as much just because it's been such a struggle over the last couple of weeks. But I love that you use that term. I kind of want to see what you have to elaborate on that.
You like the actual term loafing? I did have a couple people ask, what is loafing? And I'm like, as a football guy, it's something coaches, that's universal. Loafing was much improved. I saw 3 loafers, whereas last week it was I think it was 13, and that's just on plays of 10 or more yards, which is particularly bothering. And some of the loafing was, I was over aggressive assigning a loaf, right? There was one play where the quarterback was heading out of bounds and Harold Perkins took off, but I thought still should have tried to get within a few yards just in case he got in. Okay, that's kind of one of those situations where the rules have changed. You can't really touch the quarterback, and just don't get a penalty. So I could have gone with that was a headsy play and given him credit. Instead, I gave him a loaf. The loafing was tremendously improved, and that's the big positive sign, is at least they're playing with some pride. It's not something where a ton of alums are out there tweeting embarrassing things about them anymore. Which, boy, a lot of these alums have given.
Yeah, that Kayshawn tweet, my goodness gracious.
That one went big, and I was like, Kayshawn,
I'm not even going to comment on that, but I know what direction you're going in.
I mean, come on, Kayshawn, be a little self-aware. But I am proud of him for making the roster there at the Patriots. Although he goose egg for the Pats this weekend too. Maybe that offense is terrible for the Pats, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways, so there could be light at the end of the tunnel for this defense. There's some evidence to suggest that. We'll wait. We'll see. There's a very important guest who will be at LSU this weekend. Probably the biggest recruit you can bring in. Michigan quarterback, #1 overall recruit in the country, Bryce Underwood, will be on campus. Zach, what's your feel with Bryce, man? I mean, he just keeps on coming back to LSU over and over and over again, and now he's taking an OV.
Yeah, I mean, it's special to get him back on campus again. Obviously, he was in town for the Bayou Splash event over the summer, and it was kind of a surprise because he was supposed to go visit Michigan that last weekend of July, and instead kind of pivoted and brought his girlfriend, brought his family. They all came in town for the Bayou Splash event. It was his parents' anniversary weekend too, so it was kind of a family affair. And look, man, that recruitment is heating up in a big way. He has a tentative commitment date for January. It's January 6th, January 9th, one of those 2 dates. And look, to get him back on campus is massive. And Bryce Underwood is the real deal. He's a super talented 2025 quarterback. And, LSU's really separated themselves from the pack there. It's LSU. You got Michigan. Deion Sanders and Colorado have entered the mix. He took an official or unofficial visit over there when they played Colorado State last month. So, you got your heavy contenders like LSU, Michigan, Colorado, and Penn State's in the fold too. But to get him on campus again for a game day experience is tremendous. And that's a talented quarterback, man. Like you said, number one quarterback in the country, number one overall player in the country in that 2025 class. So when you're looking for headliners, when you're looking for those big fish, I mean, Bryce Underwood's as big as it gets. So, they're going to roll out the red carpet this weekend and,
Oh yeah.
give him the full on treatment. So it's significant. And, Joe Sloan and that quarterback coach and, the recruiting staff as a whole are really looking at that 2025 recruiting class for quarterbacks. They just cracked the top 10 for George McIntyre as well today. And so, look,
Yep.
good things are happening.
I was about to bring that up, by the way.
Yeah, wait, what'd you say?
I was going to bring that up in just a second. Yeah,
Yeah.
LSU made the top 10 for George, although they're probably well inside the top 10.
Yeah, we've gotten George to campus a bunch of times this year as well, referring to LSU. So, look, George McIntyre, Bryce Underwood, it's big time in that 2025 class, and let's just stick on Bryce to get him on campus this weekend. Big time. It's his first game day experience.
Roll out the red carpet and probably get your NIL deals together, guys. He would be a game changer. I think Bryce Underwood's a little bit more of a talented player than George McIntyre.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think LSU is doomed for a second place finish on Bryce Underwood. Hometown
team type thing.
Yeah, like they'll get the hat on the table. I've seen this same song and dance. Like it, reminds me of Adrian Peterson back in the day where LSU was right there, put out a good, situation for him, but he stayed home and went to Oklahoma. Although his dad being in prison had something to do with it. And there's a hilarious story about how Coach O tried to get his dad transferred to the LA prison.
I did read about that a while back.
Yeah. But LSU was second place for it. It reminds me a lot of that where LSU's doing its absolute best, but it's tough to beat out a tier 1 hometown team. It's not like you're beating out Michigan State as the hometown team. It's Michigan, and that program is rocking and rolling. We see what they're doing there. It'll be tough. I think LSU has a better shot with George McIntyre. And I do think one of those two quarterbacks will commit to LSU, at least at this point. I think LSU's got a really good chance. I'm going to ask Zack here. Ask Zack, how big is it for Bryce that Jayden Daniels is playing so well?
Look, I mean, it's tremendous. When you look at, Bryce is classified as a pocket passer when you're looking at like a pro-style passer. But when you look at their game and their play style, it's very similar. So when you're kind of giving somebody like Bryce the pitch, if you're Joe Sloan, quarterback's coach, you're just going to sit here and say, like, look at what Jayden's doing within our offensive system. And it's pretty evident that if Bryce were to, commit to LSU and make that move, he could fill the exact same role and just be next in line to be a success story of LSU quarterbacks. So, I certainly feel like it's tremendous that Jayden's playing so well within this system because Bryce is a guy who could fit the mold entirely.
Absolutely. And we're in the next segment, we're going to break into just how good Jayden Daniels has been. In case you've missed out, thanks for the comment, Chance Babin. He's been incredible. In fact, his numbers actually stack up not embarrassingly next to Joe Burrow's numbers. And he's on pace to do some pretty special things. So before we get to that, guys, I got to thank my sponsors for making everything we do possible. Of course, guys, y'all know Celebrity Theaters is our title sponsor this year. They have their weekly special. So every Monday is $5 admissions for patrons over the age of 55. So y'all go check them out tonight if that is what you're looking to do. Tuesday is Bargain Tuesday, discounted movie tickets and concessions for all. Wednesday is College Night. Admission for college students after 5 p.m. is $5. Baton Rouge location has half off arcades all day. And Thursday is at the Baton Rouge location is Thirsty Thursday, where they have discounted bar items there. Again, guys, getting to drink a beer or frozen drink in a leather recliner while you watch the newest movies, that just seems like the future to me, man. That's never not blown my mind. Of course, guys, we've got to talk about Alumni Hall as well. Tiger fans, when you want to show your LSU Tiger pride, Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family: Nike, Nike Golf, Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide hats, Yeti, gifts, accessories, and more. LSU students, faculty, and military all receive 10% off in-store every day, and you earn cash back with their Hall Pass Rewards program. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row, or at any time at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And guys, we get a lot of fans going into Alumni Hall who mention TigerBait to them. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate when y'all do that, because it just lets our sponsors know that their dollars are going to good work. And, you know, we wouldn't be able to put on these shows without our sponsors. So I appreciate that. Let's see if we got any good comments, guys. Remember, do me a favor, hit the like comment on that show if you're enjoying what you're seeing tonight. Hit that like comment and share the show to your social media platforms if you enjoy it. That way we get good referrals and good analytics. Let's see if we have any good comments. Yeah, he said, on pace for 50 touchdowns. I put that out right afterward. It kind of blew my mind. And what really blows my mind is where that puts him at ranking-wise in the SEC. So we'll get to that. If we had Penn State or Georgia scheduled at this point, we'd be undefeated. I'm trying to think. I mean, against Florida State, I think the team really just played so awfully that there might be a lot of teams that would have beaten LSU. I think LSU really needed to work on itself after that Florida State game. And I think the Ole Miss game was definitely a wake-up call game. I think it's possible LSU be 5-1, but definitely there's something to be said for LSU has played a tough schedule to point. All right, I'm gonna pull up some numbers here for our guy Jayden Daniels here. I'm gonna have to read off because there's just so many. Boy. By the way, Jayden Daniels leads all of college football with the most total yards. That stat just caught me off guard, and it's not really close. He's about 300 yards above the next leading guy. He's got 2,385 yards, I believe is the number. Not particularly close to the next guy. He's thrown 19 passing touchdowns. He threw 17 all of last year. Okay. 2,391 yards and 23 touchdowns after 6 games. That's on pace with a bowl game now. Okay, I'm counting a bowl game. There is possibility of an SEC championship, which would go even further beyond it. That's on pace for 5,180 yards and 50 touchdowns. He's on track for a 5K 50 season, guys. That put him second in single season SEC history for total yards behind the one and only Joe Burrow, who has the only 6,000 yard season in like college football history. So it's pretty elite company, no doubt, and would put him fourth in total touchdowns in SEC history. Michael Bonnet, the sports information director at LSU, of course, my former boss put out a really good tweet today, which I'm going to read, comparing Jayden and Joe. Let's see, through their first 6 games. Let's see. Jayden is 131 of 181. Joe Burrow was 148 of 186. So Joe Burrow did have a better completion percentage, pretty significantly better. Passing yards, 1,969 versus Joe Burrow's 2,157. So again, Joe Burrow was a step forward passing, but remember our jaws were all dropped at Joe Burrow passing in 2019. Rushing 422 to 105. Pass touchdowns 19 to 25. That's Joe Burrow with 25. Rushing touchdowns, Jayden has 4, Joe Burrow 2. Total offense. Now this is the one. This is the one that really kind of made me say, dang. Joe Burrow, 2,262 yards. Jayden Daniels, 2,391. He's outpacing the GOAT after 6 games. That's pretty wild.
I was astounded when I saw that earlier. I was like, I couldn't even believe it.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Because where you were watching all the LSU games back then. You were at ULL, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you still paid attention to all the LSU stuff. Covering the team, that was my first year on the beat with LSU at TigerBait.
That's crazy.
It was just mind-boggling how impressive he was. And it was like he basically was perfect for every snap. And that's something I can't say about Jayden Daniels. He's not been perfect nonstop throughout the season. I mean, there were some slumps against Florida State in the second half. There was a slump against Arkansas. But other than that, he's been incredible. Joe Burrow was basically flawless. I mean, you see it right there. He had less than 30 incompletions on 186 plays. Also, player of the week. Jayden Daniels now been player of the week 3 times in a row. So, guys, if you have, no one is saying Jayden Daniels needs to be benched for Nuss. Let's just get that out of the way. If that is your most original take, you can come out, but people still say, get out of here, man. Anybody who's saying that at this point is a troll. He's been outstanding. Do you think the Joe Burrow, Jayden Daniels is a fair comparison? I do think that you just need someone. The editor at Tiger Rag said that Jayden Daniels might be the best quarterback ever, and I'm like,
Look, like I get it. Like Jayden Daniels has been phenomenal. He's been cooking this season. Like you can't take that away from him. But Joe Burrow, like you said, there's a difference between great and flawless. Joe Burrow was flawless. Jayden Daniels has been great. So, there's just different levels to this. And I don't want you're just nitpicking at this point if you're trying to compare the two just to try to, stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah,
Jaden's been fantastic. I don't think we should take anything away from Jayden. Putting him in the same category, even just putting him in the same category as Joe Burrow is just kind of like something that is complimentary in itself. So I've been so impressed with what Jayden's done this season, man. You and I talked before the year, just trusting his arm, deep balls, intermediate throws, balancing his leg and his arm, and just all these different things. And we said it last week. We said it the week before. Every box that we needed to get checked has been checked off. So, Jayden's been exceptional. And, the Heisman thing's one thing or another. It's a difficult conversation. Obviously, you and I believe he should be, right up there, 1, 2, 3.
Top 3, yeah.
But regardless, he's making himself some money in the NFL draft right now. So, bigger picture, I think this has just been an exceptional season from Jayden, and we're only halfway there. So, I can't wait to see what he does towards his back half of the season.
If you wouldn't have Jayden Daniels in your top 5, I'd be a little disgruntled and be like, man, what you doing? What's going on there?
Top 5 like Heisman?
Yeah, top 5 for your Heisman.
Oh yeah, I think you don't know ball. Like I completely agree.
Yeah, you don't know ball if you don't have Jayden. You are not that dog if you got Jayden's out of your top 5. I just think that I understand if you have Caleb Williams has been very impressive. Michael Penix Jr. for Washington, undefeated, very impressive. I respect it if you got guys like that above him, but you definitely do not need to be overlooking what he's doing. Like we said, all the things we talked about all off season, pushing the ball downfield, he's been incredible at that. I mean, really good at doing that. And we're talking about right on the dime, man. It got to the point where I'm sure even the Nussbusters, when Jayden Daniels got hurt, a little bit of them were like, oh crap.
Exactly.
There's no like hope or realistic thought that maybe Nussbauer could do some things better. It's like not enough to overcompensate. So I'm glad that we're finally starting to see some national guys catch on, like that Jayden Daniels is a stud and deserves all this love. Like Bo Swindle with a good comment here. 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bo Swindle with a good comment. Burrow played his best for the best teams. Yeah, I mean, 8 touchdowns in a college football playoff game.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it did. Like he'd throw like, he'd have a mediocre game against like Utah State or someone like that. Burrow didn't play the whole game. Burrow actually did go a lot into fourth quarters, a little bit more than you would expect, because remember that defense kept on giving up late touchdowns. I suspect that 2019 defense to this day was the victim of just being up by the offense, giving up too many points and them kind of like relaxing a little bit. Bo Swindle thinks he should be number 1. I'm fine for it, but like I do understand. Ooh, Fire 449 with a pretty cool comment here. Fire Verge Osbury, which Verge Osbury is the associate athletic director at LSU, who is in charge of scheduling. Fire Verge if you don't get a week 0 game next year.
It's such a hot topic of conversation, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, you open against USC in Las Vegas.
Talk about a movie of a game. That is going to be, oh my goodness gracious, that is going to be so cool in that new stadium.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I hope Caleb Williams goes pro, because Jayden Daniels won't be back. He'll be done. Caleb Williams is flirting around with the idea of coming back. And this is one of those things where I've talked about why NIL might be good for college football. Because he's saying I can make more money at USC next year with NIL than I could in my rookie year for USC. I suspect that's not actually true because you can still get product endorsements, which are basically NIL deals when you're in the NFL. I have a sneaky suspicion he'll end up going pro, but he is talking about it. And if they does, that sucks because that'll probably be the best football player in college since Joe Burrow, senior Jayden Daniels. I mean, I'm senior. There's something about Jayden. I'm literally mixing up Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams in my head. They're playing so well.
Well, what are your thoughts on a week 0 game? Do you think it's necessary?
Necessary? There was a time back in the gap where I used to argue that a staunch week 1 game got your team more excited and prepared better during the offseason.
Right.
After dropping 4 straight openers, I think that that's just really bad PR for your team. And the kinks. I mean, there's been a lot of kinks to get worked out on this team in every single opener. And it seems
imagine last year, like in 2022, if we had, I feel like if we would have had a tune-up game, just like Florida State did,
I think LSU wins that game. I think that was the one where it's most evident because you've had 2 blocked kicks, 2 muffed punts. I mean, and that team just had 0 continuity returning. I think you should get a week 0 game, and it should be the cupcakiest cupcake game of all time, just to get a good tune up and work out all the kinks because clearly it's not been working for this LSU team. See if we got any good comments here. Look, Eric DeLion, it's necessary for week 0 because it seems Brian Kelly cannot get this team ready for the first week. Well, this 4-game drop is more than just Brian Kelly, guys. Brian Kelly had some problem. I give him a pass for the first year because we're talking about fielding basically an entire new football team out there and a new coaching staff. I cut him a break, but this year definitely looked bad. But the previous 2 years had nothing to do with him. I just think it's real bad PR and a bad look for the program. You do not want that ESPN headline. LSU drops its 5th straight opener. You don't want that. You really don't want that. So yes, on the field, you want to work out the kinks, but it's a branding issue at this point. Shifting gears a little bit here. Auburn has Hugh Freeze as a head coach, and although he hasn't had time to really get his personnel there, Hugh Freeze had a week to sit at home and watch film and think of ways to attack this defense. And his defense has been stingy. He gave Georgia a very hard time. I mean, it was a 1-score game. Brian Kelly pointed out how hard the time they gave. What does Auburn do that could give LSU problems, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think this is going to be – it's always a good game between the 2 programs. And I don't want to be this guy who's a homer and just like hammering, LSU. But there's just nothing specific about this offense that Auburn does that is exceptional to me. Peyton Thorne, their signal caller, is a guy who they've utilized as a dual threat type of guy. I mean, if you look at how many times he's carried the football, it's something that took me by surprise. I didn't expect him to be, running the football as much as he is. You talked earlier about the RPOs and stuff, and he's been keeping it a significant amount. They have Robbie Ashford as well, who they use as kind of like a runner as well. But like we said, it seems like they're kind of shifting towards giving, Peyton Thorne that full-on role as their QB1. So there isn't anything that they do exceptionally well. Obviously, when you're going up against a secondary like LSU, they might try to, put the ball through the air and test the secondary as early as possible. But, they can run the ball efficiently. They test the outside with their weapons. They don't have a true, lethal wide receiver 1, but they have weapons on the outside that they can utilize. But when I'm looking at, for LSU to kind of tune up a little bit, this is a game where they need to show out really, really early and play all 4 quarters because when you're playing an SEC foe in Tiger Stadium, you're always going to get the best of them. And, you're just going to have to hold this. You're going to have to limit this offense to as much as possible. But nothing specific jumps off of the page to me when watching a little bit of film on Auburn. But look, again, SEC game in Tiger Stadium, you never know what can happen. And if Peyton Thorne turns it up a notch, it could be a hard-fought game once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I would argue that LSU has, and as far as areas you can attack on this defense, I mean, the biggest issue with this defense is just tackling, just
Right.
straight up tackling. And I think that they improved on that a good bit, and they're going to continue to improve. Of course, they said that Pete Jenkins they brought in was not necessarily to help with the defensive line. Oh, the biggest sign of improvement for this defense that I saw on the film review on those big plays of 10 plus yards that I charted, I didn't see one time where defense was lined 1 to 2 yards off the ball.
It's a good observation. Mm-hmm.
That was that, and I also noticed the defensive line got off after the quarterback a lot more aggressively this week, and I just a lot of good vibes on that. So, and I do think tackling has improved. I think they've got a lot of work to do to keep on improving. I think the tackling and not being able to get off blocks are things that are going to be harder to fix, easier said than done issues. But that being said, as far as areas to attack, there's 2 areas that you can strategically. I mean, you can't attack a bad tackler. I mean, you just, I mean, you get the ball in a ball carrier's hands and try to make a miss. I mean, strategically though, the outside run contain has been just wide open for the taking. Major problem for this defense, and the downfield coverage. And this is a variety of issues with that. Soft coverage, not being able to identify the ball, and just plain bad coverage at times. That all of these are combinations. Which one of those would you pick to get picked on by a team? Well, you would pick the downfield coverage. I'm sorry, if you're LSU, you would pick the outside run. If you're the other team, you'd much rather be able to target them downfield.
Yeah.
I don't think Auburn's going to be able to bully LSU downfield like that. I think LSU, Auburn doesn't have a plethora of super talented receivers like a Luther Burden or like, the monsters that Florida State had. And I don't think Peyton Thorne is quite that dude to do that. I do think the outside runs are going to be an issue for Auburn. I think Auburn will be able to score some points, some good points this weekend. Zack, the bettors are laying LSU 11.5. Did they get that right?
I think you're right. I think it's around that area right now. That's such a big spread. But look, if you do everything that you can offensively, I don't see why that's far-fetched. Again, 11.5 is a big spread in SEC play, but you're at home. It's Tiger Stadium. It's a struggling Auburn offense. Like, man, I was looking at the numbers. I don't think they've passed for like over 100. I think they average like 156 yards through the air.
Really?
As a team, I think it's the worst in the SEC or something.
That's
like
anemic.
that. Might have to fact check me on that, but I mean, dude, they are struggling through the air so significantly. So looks like they're probably going to power that outside run, like you were hinting on yourself. So yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be a hard fought game, and I do think LSU, it's a big spread, man. Jeez.
Well, let's put it like this: Peyton Thorne is 15th in the SEC for passing yards. Because there's 2 Texas A&M quarterbacks with more yards than him after only playing half a season each. That's pretty embarrassing. He's got 643 yards passing. That's why
he's only thrown for like 600 yards.
Guys, that's what I'm telling you about the matchups moving forward. Brady Cook is 3rd. Okay. Jackson Dart is 4th. Okay. KJ Jefferson's 7th, but we know what a beast he is. Okay, he can definitely get the ball downfield. Okay, I don't care what that says about him. And then Will Rogers, we knew he was able to get the ball downfield, and LSU manhandled him. So I guess that's one. Check that box off. If your defense is struggling with downfield coverage, playing a 15th highest rated quarterback passing the ball in the SEC is exactly what you want to see next. So some serious optimism. I think LSU does take care of business, and I think they cover. I think LSU wins. I think LSU will dial up their as scheduled 42 points, and I think the defense takes a tiny little step forward as Pete Jenkins begins to work with the atrocities of this defense. Tiny step. They chip away problem by problem by problem. And I think they get a little bit better. I think they work out a few freshmen who are going to start to grow up in front of our eyes. And I think LSU gives up 28. I think we're looking at 42-28, which if my math serves me correctly, that's a 14-point cover on the 11.5. So feeling pretty good about that. All right, guys, got one more set of ads to get to here before we wrap up our show. Make sure to get your comments in and get your super chats in. If you really got something, we're going to try to get some rapid fire comments. I'll get to a couple BK comments and then we'll wrap this show up. But of course, I got to thank Celebrity Theaters for making our show possible as our title sponsor. All Celebrity Theaters come with 8 to 10 auditoriums. Whether you're interested in hosting a birthday party, private movie screening, corporate meeting, arcade, or party, we have the perfect facility to fit your needs. Celebrity Theaters is proud to offer birthday packages for children of all ages. Let us handle everything from movies to entertainment to setup to cleanup. For more information or to book your party online, visit celebritytheaters.com/events or send them an email at events@celebritytheaters.com. And guys, if you can see the artwork behind me, as you can see, I've got some good stuff. I put the label up there, spectersportsart.com/the Bayou. Okay. This is the special artwork from the artist Jordan Spector. Okay. It's art that's guaranteed to catch the eye of the Tiger fans that come see you in your house or watch the game with you, whatever it may be. This is the Smokin' Joe piece, which is the most popular piece he sold, but this one's catching up. This is the Dylan Cruz 7, of course, signifying LSU's 7 championships. He's got the smoking cigar, just like Joe Burrow. He's got the championship trophy. 7 of the championships is what 7 stands for. The fireworks from the championship celebration. His golden cleats from winning the Golden Cleat Award. Guys, the details tell a story. Think about the puzzle piece on his sleeve. That's an homage to his work with disabled children. Where he literally, used his resources to get disabled children to come watch the game. He's got a ton of Louisiana peaches. He's got Drew Brees, the Saint. He's got Coach O and Joe Burrow. He's got the Tiger Stadium one behind me that you can see. All good-looking pieces. Artwork is available in quality print and Kansas and sizes to fit any room or budget. The art is straight from the box to your wall. You don't have to buy any supplies, nothing like that. Everything you need is in the box. You just pull it out and hang it. The best part about his artwork is the athletes themselves are purchasing this and putting in their room. So the same piece that Joe Burrow's parents have, it's right behind me. That Dylan Cruz piece I just showed you, it's in Dylan Cruz's house. And you can see the pictures on the link in the description of this video, spectersportsart.com/the Bayou. Got the sign behind me in case you forget. Make sure to use the promo code TigerBait10 to get 10% off your order, and also let our sponsor know that their sponsorship dollars are being put to good work. Guys, link in the description of this video. Go check them out. All right, back to it. Let's get to some comments here. Zach, did you hear anything at BK's presser today that really stood out to you?
Look, I'd love to pull out this hot take or anything, but just the praise for Jayden Daniels, man. It was just so fantastic to hear him, talk so highly of his signal caller, just because he does deserve the praise. He does deserve the attention, and he deserves everything that's coming with it right now. And he hit on it on several different occasions. That was something that really stood out to me as well. To be honest, today was kind of a, check the box type of press conference, hit on what happened at Missouri, preview what was coming up at Auburn, answer a couple, questions, but there weren't as many, strong takeaways from this week's Brian Kelly press conference. But what really stood out to me was the praise that he had for Jayden Daniels, because it's so deserving.
Yeah, definitely. Also of note, and obviously not as as big of a nugget of his, just some little things. He praised Mason Smith for having his best game. He said it was his best game he had played, and I concur with that. He did get away with a face mask, but he actually was, starting to show some technique and leverage. He really emphasized how important playing 5 of the last 6 at home are for this program. Charles Turner, he talked a lot about, saying he's probable for this week, which is, you really don't want to be out with Charles Turner. I was surprised they turned to the true freshman DJ Chester, but
he played well.
He did play well. He played better than Marlon Martinez, if we're being honest, who
completely agree.
I was, there were some snap issues there, but you really don't want Charles Turner out. It's like with this offense, it's like they're playing so well, like you really don't want to mess with the juju there. And talked a lot about Ryan Yates and Kylan Jackson learning. and getting ready to play. That means he's definitely thinking about these freshmen and working them in.
He said
Give some
Kylan will
fun.
play probably before the end of the season happens, so I'm
He
excited
did.
to see what he brings to the table. I think
He
he's just
did.
such a super athlete. I feel like
He
he's
is.
only gonna make some type of impact in a positive way.
Yeah, I remember I went and got film of him back when it looked like he was all Texas A&M at first early in
Yeah,
his recruitment. I was like, well, that's a bummer because he's a stud. He completely shut down DeColdis Crawford at Glen Oaks. Although, I mean, look, that team didn't belong on the field, and we know what's happened to DeColdis Crawford since then. He was an LSU commit, and now he's at Louisiana Tech. Josh Forbes.
still the best name in college sports, by the way.
Oh, so good, dude. Did you see his NIL deal with the AC
Was it the
company?
AC company? Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, so good. Worth every penny. He doesn't even play for Nebraska anymore, but like I would still run that commercial in perpetuity. Josh Forbes says, "Hey, you're late, Josh." All right, Preston, who would win in a fight, Brian Kelly or Hugh Freeze? Ah, that's tough, man. Neither one of them are like very intimidating. I was just thinking of that the other day, is like how unintimidating the SEC coaches are nowadays. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
I
with a
can't even.
draw on that. Neither one of them have anything to say. They both beat up Eli Drinkwitz, okay, but like neither one of these guys win. Marcus Freeman. If we're doing an all-out college football brawl, that's the one dude I don't want to fight.
That's fair.
I mean, dude's a stud. He was an NFL player, by the way. He played for Ohio State and was like a first-round pick. Like he was a linebacker. Like I don't, and he's like 38, guys. I don't want to fight Marcus Freeman. I wouldn't be so scared of either of those guys. Kirk M says the Mason Smith wasn't a face mask. Well, it wasn't called on the field as a face mask. What you think, Zach? Did LSU get away with one?
They might have. And Brian Kelly talked a little bit about the calls that didn't quite go LSU's way today during the press conference. He kind of joked about it a couple of times, but yeah, no, might have gotten away with a little something there.
LSU, the refs did LSU very few favors. The couple red zone sequences, and then I was watching a really bad missed hold on a scramble from the quarterback where I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, the defense, the Savion Jones got to the quarterback, but then he got chokeholded. The refs did LSU no favors this weekend, but they did let that one slide. I think that was a make good call. That's like man, we screwed you on that missed false start. That missed false start, I gave nobody a negative play on that, even though every other touchdown I did on that one. I'm like, your defensive line's pointing at the guy to get the call. That's what they're supposed to do. And then they're standing straight up and they just bulldoze you. Like, okay, how about the ref actually just calls the false start and nobody. And look, this is another good two freshmen I'd like to see. Womack and Howard, I believe, will be playing a lot by the end of the season. Two true freshmen. And look, that's a problem position for LSU. Those DNs, not very good this year.
I also love Jackson Howard, by the way. He worked a lot at Jack linebacker during fall camp, and he looked fantastic. And he's kind of like, you want to see somebody like him shine because he's not a Southern guy. Like Brian Kelly went up to Minnesota and got him the number one player in Minnesota. So you want to see national guys kind of shine because it helps, the recruiting efforts as a whole. So bigger picture wise, yeah, I want to see Jackson Howard shine.
And it's funny, guys from out of state tend to not do as well.
Which is exactly why I want to see him ball out.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like LSU gets guys like Clifton Garrett, who's like all world, 5-star everything. And he just, he's from Missouri or whatever, and just laid an egg, dude. I guess the exception, sometimes the Texas guys, I'd say the Texas guys, I mean, do pretty well. I think it has a lot to do with just the general everyday climate and being able to perform in practice and stuff like that. If you ever go, I mean, out west or anything, every time I go to Vegas or Colorado, I dry out. I feel like SpongeBob when he goes on the surface today or in Sandy's house and he's like, I don't need the water. I need it.
I need it.
It's rough, man. I'm sure the reverse applies to them as they come in and basically have to drink their air down here. I think that has a lot to do with it. And if you're somewhere for like Florida, Texas, or something like that, I don't have any statistical breakdown, but I would presume that those guys do a little bit better here. Guys, I appreciate you all watching the show tonight. tonight. Appreciate you, Zack, for joining us. Y'all make sure to go give him a follow on Twitter. He puts out some really good, insightful things. It's more of a quality, not quantity approach for him on Twitter. At Nagy20, you could see the handle there. So go give him a follow. He's done great work for LSU country in a very short time, taking over that beat. What was it? Last year was your first year. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep, that's right. Glenn West left for 247, so took over for him. So make sure to give him a follow, guys. Hit a like on the show. And if you really enjoyed the show, share this to your social media so we can, get the algorithms rocking and rolling. I appreciate everybody for watching tonight. We will be back with our post-game show after the game. It's usually about 90 minutes after the game. Hopefully we got some good news. Mike and Buddy will be live Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And of course, Zack will be right back here with me next Monday night at 8 o'clock. So y'all have an excellent evening. We'll see y'all then.